Hello again, YouTube family. Thanks for joining me on this video. This video is dealing with, as you can see in the photo to my left, Marjorie Taylor Greene, our most ridiculous member of Congress. And that's saying a lot. There are a lot of ridiculous people in Congress. Between the House and the Senate, there is a lot of ridiculous people. But she continually shows that she takes the cake. Marjorie Taylor Greene recently held a press conference in her office, and I'm sure a lot of people want to ask the question, why was Marjorie Taylor Greene holding a press conference? She is a representative from a single district in the state of Georgia. She's been removed from her committee assignments, which makes her a completely useless member of Congress for her party. In order to submit legislation, you have to be in committee. You submit legislation through committee. She has no committee assignments. If she ever came up with policy, she would have to hand it off to a colleague for them to take it to committee and to submit it. It's that insane. But she's holding a press conference because that's the only thing she's in Congress to do. She's in Congress for the popularity part of it, not for the governing part of it, not for the legislative part of it. She's in Congress to try and get in front of news cameras as often as she can, to tweet and post and do all this nonsense to make sure she stays high up on the crazy right wing's list of their favorite politicians. And she's there. She has maintained her popularity with the Trump base. Those people who are far down the rabbit hole are diehard supporters of this woman. And she obviously has designs larger than being a representative for her Congress district in Georgia, because she does nothing, absolutely nothing, for her district in Georgia, and she can't. She's been removed from committee assignments. And, when they removed her from her committee assignments, as I said before, she said, "Good, this gives me more time to travel around the country and talk to people." Which I say, why are you traveling around the country to talk to people? You represent a district in Georgia. You should be, if you're leaving Washington, D.C., unless you're campaigning for someone else, you should be going to your district in Georgia, because that's where people put you in office from, and you need to be listening to their needs. You're there to represent the people in that individual district, not to talk to people in Wyoming or North Dakota or South Dakota or Idaho or Utah or Georgia or Alabama or anywhere else. Texas. You're not in Congress to do this. You're in Congress to represent the people in the district who elected you. That's what you're there for. She doesn't care, though, because she's not in Congress to be a legislator. She's in Congress to be a messenger of the most ridiculous side of the right wing. And whereas Marjorie Taylor Greene here and Lauren Boebert are the two QAnon congresswomen you've probably heard in the news. People talking about the QAnon supporters, believers getting into Congress. One is Marjorie Taylor Greene. The other one is Lauren Boebert from Colorado. Lauren Boebert comes across as very fake, and she's very weak in her district. She is someone that, if Democrats ran a strong grassroots progressive against, I think she would be easy to oust in that district in Colorado. Because Lauren Boebert is a faker. I think she knows more than she appears to, and she's putting herself in this crazy right-wing rabbit hole to garner support from those people who are diehard Trump supporters. Whereas Marjorie Taylor Greene comes across as someone who is just as ignorant, someone who is just as confidently ignorant as Donald Trump, someone who is just as incompetent, someone who has just as little intellectual curiosity as Donald Trump. She seems to be like a female version of Donald Trump. She believes the nonsense. She seems to believe all the craziness, and that's why she has been so much more successful at suckering money out of these crazy right-wingers who are stuck in this Trump rabbit hole. But Marjorie Taylor Greene, she, I think, is a true believer in the crazy. She's a true disciple of the ignorance. And she pushes it, and she's been successful with it. She has raised, I believe, the third or fourth highest amount of money so far in Congress this year, after people like Nancy Pelosi and AOC. Nancy Pelosi is always going to be able to raise a lot of money because, one, she's the Speaker of the House. The Speaker of the House will always be able to raise a lot of money because they have a lot of power. The Speaker of the House is I guess technically second in the line of succession to be president. She's third behind the president. You have the president, vice president, and the Speaker of the House. And additionally added to that, Nancy Pelosi is very much a corporate Democrat who is willing to take all of the bribe money from corporations and to hold the large billionaire bundler fundraisers where they raise insane amounts of money. So the Speaker of the House will always be able to raise a lot of money. Traditionally, that is, through corporations and the wealthy. AOC has been very successful as a grassroots fundraiser. She created a very strong grassroots fundraising campaign when she ran for Congress. When she ran for election, she got it stronger. And so she's able to raise lots of money. Just not through the billionaires and the corporations. She raises it through large amounts of people. Marjorie Taylor Greene is, without a doubt, jealous of how popular AOC is. She's trying to be AOC, but without the intelligence and charisma on the right. And it's been successful for her. She's raised a lot of money, but she had this crazy, delusional press conference, and I wanted to break it down bit by bit. I've chopped it up into 12 video clips from the press conference, and the press conference she held was like around 36 minutes long. It's a long press conference. She talks for about, I think, 12 to 15 minutes, and then the rest of the time is all answering questions from the media who showed up in the most delusional, deluded, crazy way possible. And the thing is, the media shows up. If she does something like this, they will show up because she's like the train wreck you can't turn away from. She's a spectacle. That's what she's created herself to be. She has no purpose in Congress, but she's a spectacle. And she's achieving some of the popularity she has set out to achieve by going into Congress. And with that, let's get into video number 1.
Me?
It can just stay right where it is.
Oh, it can stay there. Okay, great. Thank you. Well, thank you for coming, and I really appreciate you coming to my office and letting me speak with you all about censorship. As probably most of you know, I was suspended or I guess banned on Twitter for 12 hours last night after, or they said it was 2 tweets that I had tweeting information that anyone can have access to on the internet, looking up and reading. Also saying things that not most, but regular Americans all over the country say, a lot of people in my district, a lot of people in Georgia, but also people from all over the country.
Okay, so in the first clip, it was the start of the press conference, and she mentions that she was suspended for 12 hours on Twitter in the past week. And she got suspended for pushing disinformation about coronavirus and the virus and the vaccine in particular. You know, her defense is, well, the things that I said, lots of people are saying in my district around the country. Yeah, but if lots of people lie, that doesn't mean you need to propagate the lie. You don't need to push the lie forward. And the reason she was suspended was she was pushing disinformation on Twitter, and that will come out a bit more as we progress through this. And with that, here is video 2.
These things. They're concerned about the vaccines that are not FDA approved. Now, my stance has been the entire time, I am for people getting the vaccine if they choose to, and I am for people not getting the vaccine if they choose to. But I think it has to be a choice and not a mandate. Not mandated by schools, not mandated by businesses, and not mandated by the government. And this is an important issue for everyone.
Okay, the second video clip, she was talking about she's concerned about vaccines that are not FDA approved. This is a right-wing talking point. It has been for a while now. Although really recently, the last day or two, the right-wing has started changing their tune as they're starting to see the error of their right-wing messaging, which is cases start rising. And so you have a lot of red states where cases are spiking. You have a lot of issues. This new Delta variant is affecting kids way worse than the original strand did. And it's starting to make them look like the buffoons they are. But this is one of their talking points, is that the coronavirus was passed through the FDA via emergency approval. It's not got full approval from the FDA. Although, I believe in my previous video, I mentioned that the FDA has put out statements saying the vaccine is completely safe. There's nothing wrong with the vaccine. It just has to go through the rest of the approval process. And then you have states like Tennessee that are attacking vaccines that are completely and fully FDA approved. So, I mean, these people who say, well, I don't trust the vaccine because it's not FDA approved, once it is fully approved by the FDA, they're going to come up with another reason. They'll come up with a different reason why they don't trust it. And she keeps saying, and she says throughout this press conference, that it should be choice. Whether you get vaccinated or not should be a choice. Whether you wear a mask or not, it should be a choice. Not mandated by the government, not mandated by private businesses, which is absurd. Because if you own a business, you don't want your employees to get sick. You don't want your customers to get sick. You certainly don't want to get sued because people are getting sick, whether employees or customers or even family members of employees. You could have an employee catch the virus in your restaurant, take it, pass it to their parents, their siblings, their children, spouses, whoever. And they could turn around and sue you for the hazardous workplace that you've provided by not doing the safe things and following the epidemiologist's advice. And so, I mean, she shows multiple times through this interview how clueless she is about everything. It's like this woman grew up through her whole life and learned nothing. But she keeps saying it should be choice. And That's the problem we have in this country, is it is a choice. And we have too many people making the wrong choice and putting us further away from our goal of getting through the doggone virus. But, you won't pass it through the right wing. They just aren't going to see it.
See, right now, we have many reports of side effects from the vaccines. And according to the CDC website that anyone can look up, there are reports of over 12,000 deaths. You see, I put on my tweet 6,000, but I just checked, it's been updated, and it's over 12,000 now. And this is important information for people to know. Also,
And in that clip, she was talking about how we have many reports of side effects. That's one of the misinformation pieces that have been pushed. I believe it was maybe Senator Ron Portman who was pushing that on numerous appearances on cable news when reporters were just stopping him in the Capitol. And he was pushing this. Well, there are people who have had bad side effects from the vaccine, without saying that the vast majority of the people who take the vaccine have little or no side effect from it. And things like comorbidities and things could cause you to have more of an effect than others, whether it's soreness in your arm where you get the shot, or whether it's fever or things like that. And they keep making it sound like there's some epidemic of problems from people getting the vaccine, which isn't true. That's why she was suspended on Twitter, because she kept pushing this false narrative. She kept putting out this right-wing talking point of that there's all these side effects people are having. It's not all these people. They're picking out the few who have bad side effects to prop them up in the spotlight and say, look, bad side effects for these people. Ignore the vast majority of society who's gotten vaccinated. In addition to that, she talks about the CDC reports over 12,000 deaths from the vaccine. In my tweet, I said 6,000. They've updated it. It's now 12,000. And the thing is that number she's quoting from the CDC are reports made willy-nilly by individuals, unilateral reports by individuals who are reporting this stuff. You know, you could have a 88-year-old grandmother who got the vaccine in December and then passed away in February of natural causes, and she could get reported as someone who was fully vaccinated who died. The vaccine had nothing to do with her death. She died of natural causes. And because there was the first group of people who got the vaccine were the oldest in society, some of them are going to die because they are the oldest people in our society. Some of them will die after they've gotten the vaccine, which has nothing to do with the vaccine. That's the thing. There's no link between the deaths and the vaccine. And some people could be reporting misinformation. You could have right-wing people reporting misinformation just to try and demonize the vaccine more, because the right wing has been on this mission to demonize the vaccine. And that's the kind of stuff she tweets. It's misinformation. It's fake news, if you want to say. And she's been getting fact checks put on her tweets. She'll get suspended when she continues to tweet these things, despite being warned and banned or suspended for a short period of time. I mean, 12 hours is nothing. She was probably asleep for a chunk of that 12 hours.
Of COVID-19, this Chinese virus. Dr. Fauci very much was involved in funding the gain-of-function research. This is a virus that has been made. It's a man-made virus, and the proof is coming out more and more. There was a hearing today in the Senate, and I went and listened to the hearing, and I've watched a lot of the video from the hearing, And we are finding out, and it's becoming conclusive, and I think we need to see China share more information with us about COVID-19, but this very much looks to be what we would call a bioweapon. Otherwise, why would we have Dr. Fauci funding gain of function, which takes a virus that's spread from animal to animal?
Okay, in that video, she was talking about the new right-wing talking point that was pushed in the Senate in a hearing with Dr. Fauci, that he funded this gain-of-function research. I guarantee you, Marjorie Taylor Greene could not go into any detail about what gain-of-function is when it relates to viral elements. And she's repeating what Rand Paul was pushing. Rand Paul was attacking Fauci over this gain-of-function stuff, and Dr. Fauci finally, at least, stood up for himself and told Rand Paul that basically he's a moron and doesn't know what he's talking about, because Rand Paul likes to go into these hearings with Dr. Fauci and say, I'm a doctor. Rand Paul's an eye doctor, and I don't even know if he was a good eye doctor. He wasn't credentialed through the organization that credentials eye doctors. He created his own credentialing agency to credential himself. I would not, as crazy and wacky as Rand Paul comes across, I would not trust him to do any kind of surgery on my eyes. No way possible. But that's something he's pushing. It's this push that this is a bioweapon. And the thing is, we don't know. China's not going to be forthcoming with us. You know, she tried to make it out like if she was in charge, if she was president, she would make them tell us. How are you going to make a foreign country tell us? Go to war? That still isn't going to make them tell you anything. She's so hopeless and clueless. It just boggles the mind that she is a member of Congress.
That my voice needs to be suspended and banned on Twitter for talking about these things? That's wrong. Do you know where this happens in the world, everyone? Communist China. When China doesn't like someone, when they don't like what they're saying, they don't like their political beliefs, and they don't agree with them, they silence them. And you know, that's what happened on Twitter. Acting like corporate communists. When we have social media platforms, when we have any kind of organization that is silencing our voices simply because they don't agree or they don't like it and they don't like the discussion, that's a violation of our First Amendment, our free speech. And as Americans, I would think that is something that we would all find to be so precious that we would all want to do everything we can to protect it.
Okay, in that clip, she was talking about communist China. You know, where they do this stuff, they try to silence their citizens. Communist China. Organizations silencing us violates our freedom of speech, which it doesn't. One, even with Twitter, she had her freedom of speech. She tweeted what she wanted to tweet. And that's one of the things right-wing people don't understand. One is, you have your freedom of speech. What you don't have is freedom from other people's reaction to your freedom of speech. People aren't required to agree with you. People aren't required to let you just continue pushing a false narrative, lies, conspiracy theories. When you're on a platform that's run by a private business, your freedom of speech, too, the main point, we have freedom of speech in this country from the government. The government can't limit our freedom of expression. That's what the Bill of Rights is. It's our rights of freedom against the government. As far as private businesses go, yes, they can limit your freedom of speech. You know, you have a job, your business can tell you don't talk about these things publicly. It's as simple as that. You could go into a restaurant and be cursing up a storm, and the manager can come over and say, "I need you to leave. This is a family restaurant, and we don't like that kind of language here, so I would rather you not leave. If you don't want to ever come back, that's fine, because if you came back and talk like that, we would just ban you from the store." That's the way it works with private business. You have no freedom of speech with private business. She doesn't get that, though, because that would require her to know something, like about her job in government, which she has no desire to do.
We can't ever become a nation where we are silencing people because we don't agree or we don't like the questions they're asking, and we're not willing to have those discussions. We're just saying what this person is saying is wrong, and that's misinformation, and that's not the narrative we want to go in the public. But this is where we are. Conservatives are banned, censored, and kicked off of social media.
Okay, in that clip, she was talking about this weak idea we can't silence people because we don't agree. Nobody's silencing you because they don't agree with you politically. Twitter silenced your account because you were pushing lies. That's why you were banned or suspended for 12 hours. Not because they don't agree with you politically. You can say you don't like the concept of socialized medicine for this reason, this reason, this reason. You won't get any fact checks unless you're putting lies in there. You won't get suspended for it. That's a difference of agreement. That's a difference of opinion, a difference of perspective politically. And she's talking about, people are saying this is wrong, that's misinformation. People are calling misinformation misinformation. What the right likes to do is call facts misinformation if they don't fit their narrative. Whereas everybody else who lives in objective reality accepts the facts, whether they like the facts or not, and will still state their perspective. But the right-wingers can't do that because, and as you can tell with these videos, the right wing is habitually self-victimizing. They're constantly the victims. We're the ones who are the oppressed. Us white right-wingers are the most oppressed people in this society. That's what they push. They're the victims. I was attacked. I was banned. Right-wing people or Republicans are constantly getting kicked off social media. Not because they're Republicans. Not because of their political perspective. Because of lies. Because of dangerous lies. And companies have rules, and they set them out. You can't push known lies. But it's the right-wing white fragility victimization thing. They can't stop calling themselves the victim.
Too long ago, I was sued by a communist PAC for banning them from my page because of the horrible, nasty things they were saying to me on my Twitter page. And they sued me because, you want to know what they said? They said that they could not see what I was saying. By being banned from my Twitter page, I was stopping their First Amendment, and they couldn't see what I was saying. Therefore, they couldn't participate.
Okay, in that video, she was talking about, I was sued by a communist PAC. There's nothing communist about the PAC. It's not a communist political action committee that sued her. It's a political action committee that sued her because she blocked them on Twitter. And let's go into that. It's this PAC is called Midas Touch LLC. They're an LA-based PAC. They sued Marjorie Taylor Greene for blocking them. She settled the lawsuit because her lawyers informed her she would not win in court. And so rather than go to court and have a court, showing her to be the at-fault party, she chose to settle because that gets rid of the lawsuit. In the settlement, she agreed to unblock the PAC and that she would not block anybody else for as long as she's in Congress, because there is precedent. People who are office holders in this country can't block you. As you heard earlier, she was claiming Twitter was taking away her freedom of speech by suspending her. It wasn't, because freedom of speech doesn't apply to private businesses. It applies to the government. What is Marjorie Taylor Greene? Though she seems to not realize it, she's in Congress. She's a member of the government. She is part of government, and for her to block people on social media is limiting their freedom of speech. It is blocking their freedom of expression to block them on social media. She found that out the hard way. In addition to agreeing not to block anybody else, she also agreed to pay $10,000, which was the legal cost for the Political Action Committee's fees. That Political Action Committee said they were going to donate the $10,000 to charity because they paid their own legal fees. It's a Political Action Committee. They raise money for their PAC, and they had the money to pay the legal fees. The money she paid is going to charity, and Marjorie Taylor Greene's office did not respond to reporters who asked for comment about the whole deal when it happened. But she put out a tweet, because of course she did. And her tweet reads like this: "Because of this PAC's frivolous lawsuit against me, not frivolous, very fact-based, not just fact-based, there's precedent behind it. That's why she settled. I'm not allowed to block people that threaten my life and my children's lives every day on social media. And then they are bragging about donating the money to organizations that want to take away my guns. I've seen nothing about the charities they're donating the $10,000 to trying to take away guns. That's just that right-wing scare. That's one of those right-wing buzzwords. They're going to take away your guns. Nobody's ever tried. Nobody's going to try. Not going to happen. But they donated the money to organizations that want to take away my guns, so I couldn't defend myself and my children when people show up to murder us. Who's showing up to murder you? The most violent people in this country are the right wing. The crazy right wings down that Trump rabbit hole that we saw on January 6th. They're the ones who are willing to murder people. And I'm not, it's not beyond me. There are crazy people on the far left. Just not that many. Not enough to storm the Capitol. And she's delusional with this. And everything in her statement is a lie. Marjorie Taylor Greene got blocked from her. Marjorie Taylor Greene blocked the PAC, Midas Touch LLC, from her personal Twitter account. It wasn't her formal congressional Twitter account, which was why she thought she could block them. However, she has put out political statements. She's fundraised off this personal Twitter account, which suddenly makes it an official government Twitter account. Once you start putting things out on that account that pertain to your job in government, then it's just like your formal one. She doesn't realize that, and she's not alone. She, however, used this personal Twitter account to fundraise and make political statements. And the thing is, and a lot of people don't know this, because there was another congresswoman who was very prominent who got sued for the same thing. for blocking somebody on her Twitter account. And that other person was AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, blocked a right-wing group that was harassing her on Twitter, and she got sued, and she ended up settling the same way, where she agreed to just let all of the good, the bad, and the ugly through on social media because she's a member of Congress. And the thing is, with Marjorie Taylor Greene, she didn't like people with a different perspective posting stuff on Twitter. With AOC, she's getting constantly attacked and harassed because that's who the right wing are. They're trolls. And they exist to harass and threaten. And I guarantee you, Marjorie Taylor Greene has not got a fraction of the threats on social media that Ilhan Omar has gotten since she's been in office. But Marjorie Taylor Greene's the victim because she's a right-winger, and right-wingers are the victims. Just the way they look at it.
I will not stop speaking. I will not stop tweeting. I will not stop posting.
Okay, in that video she was talking about, I will not stop speaking, tweeting, and posting. Marjorie, we know you won't. That's the only reason you're in office. You're in office for the right-wing crazy messaging because you want to be popular. Marjorie Taylor Greene comes across as this girl that wanted to be the prom queen so bad but wasn't, and will go to any lengths to get some degree of popularity. And this is what she's gone to, is this crazy right-wing Trump rabbit hole.
In that same vein, Congresswoman, do you think that you should resign for misleading people about
Identify yourself
coronavirus?
after the question.
Jackie Allen from the Washington Post.
Okay, no, I think that's absurd. I have not misled anyone. I've not put out misinformation. So no, that I would not even consider it.
That coronavirus was not dangerous for people under the age of 65 who are not obese, which is factually.
Your mattress shouldn't buckle under pressure. Theirs does. Tempur-Pedic doesn't. Because Tempur-Pedic mattresses are made
Inaccurate.
You know what? There's all kinds of things that are dangerous for people under 65 and not obese. Car accidents are dangerous. The flu is dangerous. Pneumonia is dangerous. There's many things that are dangerous for people under 65 and who people that are not obese. I was talking about the highest amount of deaths, the highest risk factor is for the older people and the people that fall into obesity. And those are the facts that you can simply look up.
Okay, in that clip, she was asked the question, should you resign for misleading people? He claimed coronavirus was not dangerous for people under 65 and who are not obese. And she was like, of course I'm not going to resign. I'm Looney Tunes. I'm cuckoo. There's no way I would resign just because I mislead people. And she claims she doesn't mislead people. And she's doing it nonstop. That's why she's been suspended multiple times on Twitter for her misleading tweets. She exists to mislead the right wing. Unfortunately, they support her in that.
Yes.
Aaron Navarro, CBS News. Whip Scalise said today he got vaccinated, citing this Delta variant that's going around, and said he's confident that it's safe and effective. Two questions. Have you yourself gotten vaccinated, and do you disagree with the Republican vote?
Well, your first question is a violation of my HIPAA rights. You see, with HIPAA rights, we don't have to reveal our medical records, and that also involves our vaccine records.
And do you disagree with Whip Scalise when he says he's confident the vaccine is safe and effective?
Oh, no, I don't disagree with him. I just think it should be everyone's choice. That is what I've been saying. No one should be discriminated against because they choose to not get the vaccine. And I don't believe people should be discriminated against for choosing not to wear masks. But I will tell you something I absolutely do disagree with. I disagree with the recommendation for children to be wearing masks. I think that is completely wrong. Children
Okay, there. She was asked a question by one of the reporters. Have you been vaccinated? Something they've been constantly trying to get out of the right wing. You just recently had the doctor who was in the White House serving the president under both Obama and Trump. Dr. I believe his name is Ronnie. And he's now in Congress as a Republican. And he was asked whether he was vaccinated, and he wouldn't answer. And he was saying, you should be asking the Democrats these questions. And as the news people said, they've all admitted they're 100% vaccinated. They have no problem saying, yes, of course I'm vaccinated. We just went through a crazy pandemic. The year 2020 was basically a throwaway year because of how bad this was. Of course we're vaccinated. Here, when she's asked the question, if you are vaccinated, she responds that your first question about whether I'm vaccinated violates my HIPAA rights. It doesn't. Under HIPAA rights, we don't have to reveal our medical records, including vaccine records. And the thing is, HIPAA, what it is and I don't know if she even knows this. I really doubt she does. HIPAA is the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. It was signed into law in 1996 under Clinton. And as much as Clinton is still one of the boogeymen of the right, they will hide behind HIPAA left and right now because of the coronavirus. Because they don't want to admit in front of their crazy rabbit hole followers whether they've been vaccinated or not. Because they've been pushing this narrative against the vaccine since Biden took office. I don't think people should be discriminated against for not getting vaccinated or not wearing masks. Children should not be required to wear masks. She made this statement literally like a day or two before a child in her district in Georgia's 14th district, died of coronavirus. As I said, this Delta variant has been affecting children way worse than the original strain. The original strain of coronavirus a kid could get infected with it and could get sick and could die. They just had a much lower odds of that happening than someone who was older, someone who had comorbidities. But it could still happen. It's happening more in young, healthy kids with the Delta variant. And as I said in my previous two videos, as long as we allow this thing to continue spreading and to continue mutating, who knows how bad the virus can mutate into. So this idea of kids should not be required to wear a mask is absolutely asinine. That is showing the cluelessness of the right wing. But she knows her supporters, the people who are giving her money when she puts out the call for money, want to hear her say that. I don't think people should be discriminated against for not getting vaccinated or not wearing a mask. They're not being discriminated against. They're not. It just isn't the case. What is the case is you don't have the right to put other people in jeopardy by choosing to not get vaccinated. And when it comes to businesses, like I said before, businesses can decide what happens in their business and what does not happen in their business. It's as simple as that. If a business says you're not allowed in unless you can prove you've been vaccinated, then absolutely they have the ability to do that because they don't want to get sick, they don't want their employees to get sick or their customers to get sick. And you don't have the right to get other people sick just because you're a delusional rabbit hole right-winger. And I just recently had a coworker who went on a cruise. And to get onto the cruise ship, he had to show his vaccination record that he was vaccinated against COVID-19. Everybody that went on the cruise had to do that. And that I agree with. And the thing is, that's why I'm upset that we haven't come up with a vaccine passport so that it could be done in a broader scale, because I am absolutely 100% in favor of that in a broad scale. putting out, whether it's a card, whether it's something you just put on your phone. And I realize some people would get fraudulent vaccine passports who hadn't been vaccinated. It would happen. No matter what it is, someone will take advantage of it. But for the most part, it would help businesses make a better decision on who they let in and don't let in, based on safety, not on discrimination. It is completely a safety measure. And these last two videos I included because I wanted to show Marjorie Taylor Greene contradicting herself in her own press conference. So here's the first of those two videos.
That way, and also make sure no one is discriminated against. I don't believe in discrimination on any grounds, whether it's race, religion, sexual preferences.
Okay, in that video, she was saying that she doesn't agree with, doesn't believe in discrimination of any kind, and she included in there sexual preference. She doesn't believe in disparaging people over race, religion, sexual preference, whatever. And what she was meaning, I'm sure, she was meaning people who are anti-vax shouldn't be discriminated against, which is not discrimination. 1. 2, she included in there the sexual preference. And now here's the second clip. This is from later in the press conference.
Her biological son, who she calls her daughter, and she talks about she wants her son to be able to go in women's bathrooms and have all the same rights as women. But you know what? I have daughters too, and I don't want men in my daughter's bathroom. What about our rights? Don't you believe in your rights, our women's rights? And we don't need biological men.
And there she is, discriminating against and showing that she wants broad-scale discrimination against trans people. And she was talking about Democrat Congresswoman Marie Newman, who has a transgender daughter. Her child was born a son, transitioned into being a girl, and that was Marjorie Taylor Greene saying biological son, who she calls her daughter. It's a biological son who she calls her daughter. No, it's her daughter. The girl is transgender. She has transitioned into being a girl. And she went on to talk about, I don't want men in my restroom. I don't want men in women's restrooms. And the thing is, a transgender woman is not a man. Doesn't got the guy parts anymore. And it's not men going into the restroom. It's girls. And this Marie Newman, her child is still young, is still a minor, but is transgender. And Marie Newman had hung a transgender rights flag outside her office, which is across the hall from Marjorie Taylor Greene. Marjorie Taylor Greene, because she's a right-winger, so therefore she is the victim, took it as an affront to her and got into a tiff with Congresswoman Newman over this transgender flag, and she says this disparaging stuff about this fellow congressperson's daughter, and it just shows what a horrible, despicable person Marjorie Taylor Greene is. Honestly, she is very, very despicable. But that's the video clips I have from that. This video's running kind of long. I hope some of you will make it to the end and watch through this with me. Like I said, Marjorie Taylor Greene is not in Congress to be a legislator. She's not in Congress for governance. She has no interest in that whatsoever. She was actually happy when she got taken off her committee assignments because it meant she didn't have to show up to work anymore, basically. She didn't have to go and sit through committees. She didn't have to try and propose legislation. And honestly, the thing she was pushing in that press conference was trying to get Dr. Fauci fired, because the right wing has been for years now about nothing but culture war BS. Culture war BS and conspiracy theory. And what they do is they come up with boogeymen. And I'm sure you could come off with the top of your head with some of these boogeymen. The Clintons, they're boogeymen to the right wing. Obama, a boogeyman to the right wing. George Soros, a boogeyman to the right wing. For whatever reason, they've added Dr. Fauci to that. And they are going back and getting things from early in 2020, early in the coronavirus, that he said. Stuff like he was recommending not wearing masks early on. And they're claiming he lied. You've got Rand Paul now sending supposedly, according to what he told Sean Hannity, sending a letter to the DOJ requesting that they charge Anthony Fauci for lying to Congress. And it's stuff like they go back and take statements from early in the coronavirus, like where he was saying, Dr. Fauci was saying, I don't recommend wearing masks. And the reasons for that was twofold. One, he didn't want people buying up masks so that medical providers didn't have them available. And two, this is a novel virus. This is a new virus. The virologists haven't dealt with it before. The scientists, the doctors, they've not dealt with it before. As time went on, medical providers figured out better ways to immediately care for people who had bad symptoms from coronavirus, and the survivability got better over time, because at the start, it's all new. And like at the start, we didn't realize this was an aerosolized virus that's passed through the air through droplets from our mouths. I have a spit guard in front of my microphone because when we talk, there is some spittle that comes out of our mouths. Some more than others. But they're taking things that he said based on limited knowledge early on and claiming he was lying about it, when it was we just didn't have the research, we didn't have the evidence, we didn't know everything about coronavirus at the start. We had to learn as we went along, and that's what they're attacking Dr. Fauci on. For whatever reason, they've added Fauci to Soros and Obama and the Clintons to this right-wing boogeyman group that they vilify. And she's playing on that because she is not someone who belongs in D.C., not someone who belongs in Congress, because this is what she lives for, is to attack Dr. Fauci, a scientist. And again, some of the things you have with Dr. Fauci, and there are plenty of people, right, left, and center, who have criticized Dr. Fauci for not being as forthcoming as he should have throughout the whole process. As they were learning stuff along the way, he wasn't just immediately putting out what we know. And part of that was, as a lot of people have probably pointed out at this point, Dr. Fauci had to also worry about his job security. He has a job, he has a paycheck, and he doesn't want to lose his job. And as we saw in my last video, dealing with Tennessee, a virologist in Tennessee who deals with vaccinations got fired because the right wing got pissed off at her because she advised providers who asked her questions about the law. And so the right wing politicians got mad and they fired her. She lost her job for doing her job, which is insane, but it's America now. And I mean, the right wing is at least probably 30 to 40% of this country. a lot of people. And so the right wing ain't going anywhere. People like Marjorie Taylor Greene aren't going anywhere. Chances are next year in the elections, we're going to get more Marjorie Taylor Greenes in Congress. You've got some Democrats or Republicans who are getting primaried. People like Liz Cheney in Wyoming. They're wanting to get rid of her because, you know, even though I probably do not agree with her on almost everything issue-wise, she called it as it was with the January 6th insurrection, with the riots. She called it like it was with Trump, and she agreed with impeaching him. So she has become enemy number one for the Republicans. She was taken out of her leadership role because she did not pledge fealty to this one man, Trump, who is the end-all be-all of the Republican Party right now. And this is my episode on Marjorie Taylor Greene's press conference. It ran a bit long, sorry for that. I hope you stayed with me this far. So I could ask you to please give me a like if you watch the video. And if you've not subscribed already, please subscribe. And thanks for watching, and by all means, have a good day.